Well, for more insight into the global mobile payment market, we're joined by Tom Ding, co-founder and CEO of tech incubator and investor String Labs. He's a frequent speaker on startups and fintech and an entrepreneur. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So start off by giving us some context here. Just how competitive is China's mobile payment market?
So I think in the Chinese market, the payments have been extremely competitive. You initially had the Alipay back, probably started 10 or 15 years ago. Then you have WeChat quickly taking over a significant market share. I think it's more than 1/3 now, by just starting with focusing on the mobile identity and the social identity piece, but it quickly expanding to almost every single thing that you could imagine. If you're in China, you just go everywhere. You don't even bring cash anymore these days, which is very different from the US right now.
And obviously China is ahead of the game, as you mentioned. So how will Alipay and WeChat Pay's expansion into the US mobile payment market affect some of these established fintech companies like your Apple Pay, your Samsung Pay, and PayPal?
Right, very interesting question. I think that if you look at the way that the whole Chinese social culture are mostly very much mixed, the hybrid between the work and life is very much kind of mixed in together. Whereas the US tend to have a more separation between professional life and social life. You have Facebook, which kind of tend to separate it from your coworkers and etc. So I think that's been interesting to look at, like how does WeChat, what is their strategy going to expand to the US? It's probably not going to be so easy as a quite late kind of comer into this very competitive market. You already have PayPal long-standing for more than 15 years now. And then you have Facebook expanding to payments marketplace, as well as newer entries like Venmo, which is not part of PayPal, but extremely popular. I would think that WeChat or Alipay would need some kind of rather innovative product to break through into this market. For example, they could try very innovative financial products that give the US consumers higher returns, which is kind of one of their key successes back in China for Alipay. They started with an interest product that provides more than 8% at its peak. If you look at the current US consumer interest rates, only around 0%. So that could be a very attractive way. On the other hand, they're also competing directly against, for example, a lot of credit card reward programs. In the US, I think the credit reward program has been very, very attractive and rather mature. They provide certain percentage of cash rewards and other bonus points, much less so in China. So I think there's also a lot to be innovated around the rewards part. I guess one other breakthrough kind of angle is for the Chinese consumer who are traveling cross-border internationally into the US.
Now, one thing I would have to talk about is security. Obviously, we have so much of our information now in these apps and these services. So we're even seeing things like biometrics when it comes to fingerprints, even selfie scanning and things like that to really try and make our information more secure. But how are security measures keeping up in terms of the pace that we're seeing with the mobile payment technology?
Yeah, so security is a really major challenge, and it doesn't necessarily get significantly better with the mobile payments world. In fact, if you look at a fraud rate of the mobile payments, I think the stats is around $20 to $30 billion, which is a very significant chunk. In fact, you could arguably say that mobile payments made some of the type of fraud even easier. For example, last year, there was significant security concerns around Apple Pay because the way that they did not fully verify the credit card. So that gives hackers and the black markets a big opportunity, vulnerability, so that they can exploit by just plugging into these stolen credit card into Apple Pay and use them for in-store payments. So that's a significant concern because we're really talking about a very new generation of mobile payment technology, but it's piggybacking on a 20, 30-year-old credit card system, which is extremely insecure by design. Every credit card number, every time when exposed, you're essentially exposing your password. So even though you could overlay like fingerprints, biometrics, and other passwords, stronger security, but you're really building on a rather weak basis.
Now, what does this mean for retailers? Obviously, bringing in these mobile pay things means a lot of infrastructure, more scanners. How are retailers who are used to accepting cash and credit cards adapting to these costs?
Great question. So the merchant today, whenever they accept credit card, they pay quite a few percentage points to the banks. And that's one of the reason or incentive that Apple Pay, for example, is providing to some of the merchants. They offer about a 10% discount, which doesn't sound that significant, but at least you probably could offset some of the initial investment. We're talking about probably $1,000 to $2,000 purchase of a new terminal. And if they already have some kind of the NFC terminal, then they could reuse that potentially for the Apple Pay.
All right, thank you so much. We'll have to leave it there. Tom Ding, co-founder and CEO of String Labs.